Amazon presents Jeff versus Taco Truck Salsa. Whether it's Verde, Roja, or the orange one. For Jeff, trying any salsa is like playing Russian roulette with a flamethrower. Luckily, Jeff saved with Amazon and stocked up on antacids, ginger tea, and milk. Habanero? More like habanero, yes. Save the everyday with Amazon.
Adobe Firefly is the all-in-one creative studio with AI-powered image and video editing for today's creative process. Built for creators of every kind, Firefly helps you generate, edit, and experiment fast. Because the asks aren't getting smaller, the budgets aren't getting bigger, and the timelines, oh yeah, still tight. With all the best creative AI models in one place, Firefly brings your ideas to life. Unlock a better way to make with Adobe Firefly.
Welcome back to Speaking with Confidence, the podcast that helps you build the soft skills that lead to real results. Communication, storytelling, public speaking, and showing up with confidence in every conversation that counts. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you on a journey to becoming a powerful communicator. If you've ever felt like you're doing the right things, but still feel out of place, burned out, or unsure how to communicate what makes you different, this episode is going to give you permission to stop fixing yourself and start trusting yourself. Today's guest is Sarah Pitts. Sarah is an international best-selling author and seasoned business development consultant. With 30 plus years of coaching experience, she empowers solo entrepreneurs to break free from overwhelm using her signature potent productivity method. Sarah's insights have helped countless individuals reclaim their focus and passion. As a deep thinker, expert strategist, and incredible communicator, she's a perfect guide for solo business owners who are tired of second-guessing themselves and just want to get stuff done. Sarah, welcome to Speaking with Confidence.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know, I really love that last line of just get stuff done. You know, I talk about that a lot. You know, people ask me, you know, what are you doing? I'm just trying to get stuff done. Just trying to do the things that need to get done and not necessarily worry about all the other things that come into play. Just one of my sayings is be where you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to do, and everything else takes care of itself. Just do the things that have to get done and everything's going to be great. Right?
Yes.
So you primarily work with solo business owners who feel overwhelmed, stuck, or unsure. When it comes to identities such as blind spot, why do so many people? Why do they feel so incapable, or why can't they get past that blind spot?
Yeah, I think the people that I've met, particularly solo business owners, they are not incapable people.
Right.
They are exceptionally capable people, and I think that's part of the problem. Is that we know how capable we are. And we can turn our hand to most things. And when it's important to us, we just get on with it because we want to do it. We just get it out the way and all the rest of it. But it ends up that we end up doing all sorts of different jobs that we didn't set out to do. We've had to learn along the way. And we get stuck in this learning loop rather than figuring out how to stick to what we know, stick to what we're really great at, and give other jobs to other people. And because we're so capable, we find it really difficult to identify what it is that we're really great at. So then everything's important, everything needs doing, and we have to do everything, you know, and then we're just like, well, how do I move forwards now, you know?
I resemble that remark. I'm with you. I mean, I still struggle with that. Like right now, you know, we just talked about before we came on that I finally gave up editing one of the podcasts. I like doing it, but number one, it takes up too much time and it stops me from doing some of the other things that actually, need to get done. But, I'm kind of like you, you see people and you're probably one of them as well, that if something needs to get done, you just jump in and start doing it. If you see something that has to get done, you don't ask questions, you just go in and do it. And then all of a sudden that becomes part of your daily tasks and things where never set out to do that. You set out to build and grow a business, and now you're filing papers, or you're, not that there's something wrong with filing papers. Filing papers has to get done, but that's not what you should be doing as a business owner, right? As the entrepreneur. That you should, pass those things off to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it drives me crazy when people say, "Oh, there's so many hats that we have to wear." They're not hats; they are full-time jobs for other people.
Yeah.
Right. But as solo business owners, we seem to have this in our heads that we need to be great at doing all of these other jobs that other people do full time. And we need to be able to do all the stuff that we care about as well. And it just doesn't work that way. You can't do 15 full-time jobs, you have to, something has to give somewhere eventually,
Exactly. Let me circle back to one thing that you said as well. Business owners sometimes struggle with figuring out what they want to do because they're so good at things. Did you struggle with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have done jobs because I've had to. I've done jobs because I thought I should. And I've also done jobs that just needed doing, So, for example, building websites, right? I was in the fitness industry for a long time. I was treating sports injuries, and I developed a way of helping people to do their own treatment at home through movement, right? So I'd created these videos, and I was, a friend of mine was building the website for me to put these videos on, because the software, the off-the-shelf software, wasn't great at the time. It took a lot of learning. So he was, it was his full-time job. He was a web guy. He knew what he was doing. And we had an agreement that when I got paid, he would get paid. And we were plodding along nicely. And then all of a sudden, he turned around to me and said, "I want £30,000, which is about $45,000, to finish your website." And he stopped talking to me, stopped communicating with me, stopped putting videos on this website. And all of a sudden, I'm panicking because, one, I haven't got that amount of money. And two, I'm letting my people down that are already paying me monthly for this membership thing. And I'm just like, okay, now I have to learn how to build websites. Because
crazy.
I was in business before he came along. I will be in business again, and I will not be bullied into paying somebody, or not be, held hostage for a website. I'm like, okay, well, you can forget working with me. I'm going to do it myself. And then that spirals into, I don't trust anybody else to do work for me. And I've paid people to do stuff, and I could have done it better myself. And I'm like, well, there's no point then. And it's just these constant experiences and conversations that keep going round and round and round. And then eventually you're just like, no, I'm just going to do everything myself.
And that's ultimately, that's one of the worst things that you can do. But, when you're in the midst of it, I think, you feel like you don't have a choice, right? And just, I can hear it. And I've been there myself. It's hard to make some of those decisions. And, at least for me, I had some, people in my inner circle, those, everybody, people talk about those 5 people. You need to have 5 people in your inner circle. And I trust, and I truly believe in that. And I had people within my inner circle who at one point came and had a, for lack of a better term, intervention, and told me, if you want to grow the business that you're in, if you want to do these things, you have got to stop doing these. They actually gave me 5 things. You have to stop doing these 5 things and start doing these 7 things. Okay. And there was, I tell people I'm coachable, and I really am. It may take me a minute to get to that point, to get over that defensiveness, that,
Yes.
Whatever it is that we want to call it, right? To be able to listen. But that's the only way that we're going to get better is listen to those other people and understanding why they're saying those things and why we are holding on to doing some of those things. Like you said, trust is a big one. And when it comes to your business, that's not only your livelihood, it's your passion. It's the thing that gets you up in the morning and drives you to do what you do. So letting go of some of those things is important. And, that also comes to, some of the things that, you and I have talked about in the past, that if you don't believe that you're worthy of being in the room, it doesn't matter how good the strategy is, right? So why is that belief gap so dangerous for communication confidence? Going back to dealing with your website partner. I mean, just as an example.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we're self-taught, or when we've been in an environment for a long time, and we step outside of that environment. For me, it was building websites. For other people, it's switching careers. I did switch careers at the end of it to try and utilize all of the skills that I'd learned how to do. But I think when you don't believe in yourself, they say in sales, they say, in order to get people to buy from you, they need to know you, or they need to feel like they know you. They need to like you, and they need to trust you. And I think it comes to a point where when you don't believe in yourself, you don't know yourself very well, you don't like yourself very much, and you don't trust that you're not going to be found out, or you're not going to do the job properly, or whatever. We put all this pressure on ourselves to be the best we can be, because we have these standards that we want to live up to. And when we have any kind of doubt that we can live up to those standards, then we start backing away. And I don't know about you, but I've worked with energy medicine quite a lot, and I feel how people are feeling quite deeply. So I can tell when somebody's in a bad mood. I can tell when they're not 100% comfortable about something, and I can tell often before other people can. So it comes from dealing with putting my hands on bodies quite often, and feeling what they're feeling through my hands. And so I can sense that, and everybody can sense that. It's a human thing. It's an animal thing. We can all sense the world around us without having to use words. And when your ideal customers, or when your people that you're talking to are sensing that you don't trust yourself, it kind of puts a barrier between you and them. It's like a distance that the customer can't put their finger on. They're like, I'm not really sure about her, but I don't know why.
Don't know why, right?
Yeah, and it's that uncertainty. It's that lack of confidence. It's that lack of clarity that makes the ideal customer not trust you, and it's that internal belief that is being projected into the world around you. It's how you hold yourself. It's how you speak. It's how you, it's just how you are in the world. And other people can read that whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and that's the piece that I think a lot of people don't get, right? When you think about, the idea of being confident and cocky, right? You could be as cocky as you want, but people can see through that a lot of times that's an act, right? Because, like you said, when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with athletes, and you see them, and you start to learn human behavior, and this is something that people don't really understand. I say something along the same lines as you. I can generally tell really pretty quickly about how somebody's feeling. What their mood is, who they are as individuals. Again, because of some of those same things, and when you can do that and figure out and take that person and switch that mindset. Really, it doesn't take a whole lot to find and switch that mindset on somebody as well. But people see through it. People see through the non-confidence. People see through the, I wouldn't say not being truthful, but but let's just say not being completely truthful. Right? I had a conversation this morning with a former student. He's now a department chair, and he's working with somebody who's a department chair in another department than him. And he said that this guy's, he never tells the truth. And he says, I see right through it. And I said, how did you learn how to do that? And we went through that process. How did you figure out how to do that? What were and then what do you do with that? That's the other piece as well. Because as individuals, what do we do with that when we see it?
Yeah. And I think that pretending or that, cover up, if you like, it comes across in everything you do online. Mm-hmm. A lot of solo business owners that I deal with are online people. Mm-hmm. So they think that if they write sales copy that's, all, oh, it's so exciting and this, that, and the other, but if it doesn't feel genuine to you and it doesn't feel like it has any integrity, then again, that goes back to the values and the standards that you have for yourself. And if it doesn't fit those, mm-hmm. what we tend to do is shy away from them.
Right.
So you could have the best sales copy, you could have the best landing page, and if you don't believe it, you won't tell people about it. Right. You could have written a really great book, but if there's something in it that you're not happy with, maybe it's the ad at the back of the page, or maybe there's a spelling mistake, or maybe there's something in it that you're not happy about, you will not promote it. You won't send people to it. And because you're hesitant, that comes across to everybody else. So you could have written a book, like Tim, I know you've written a book. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not happy with it, then you wouldn't be telling people about it. You wouldn't tell me about it. And if you did, you'd be like, well, yeah, I wrote a book and, and you'd dismiss it.
Yes.
And then people would be like, oh, well, that book's not very good then. If he doesn't think it's good, then it can't be very good,
Yeah, and you wrote it, dude, so come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, if you think it's terrible, then I'm not reading it.
And again, we're going to talk about books here in a second. And, I'm not somebody who talks about myself. That's just not who I am. And I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and I just gave out a bunch of books, and I met an individual who, he's in the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame. He's in another Speakers Hall of Fame. And he speaks a lot on AI now. I mean, he's an older gentleman, and gave him a book, and he sent me an email yesterday and said he really loved the book.
Cool.
And not that I was surprised, because it's a good book, but I was surprised that, and here comes the confidence piece, that somebody of his stature that I put him up here would say that. And that's the other piece of confidence that we need to actually look at. It doesn't matter who says it's good or praises you or whatever it is. We put people on pedestals that we have made up, right? Because that guy's just a person, just like anybody else. Maybe he's accomplished something over here or over there, but he's still just an individual, just like we are. And sure. If he had never responded, I'd have been fine. If he, right. So that's the other piece in that self-confidence, in that inner talk, inner dialogue that we've got to deal with.
But it also works the other way.
Yes.
If he'd have said, oh, this book's great, but again, you weren't happy with it, you wouldn't believe him. And you would still go back to that, oh, well, this book's terrible because I haven't done this and I haven't done that, and it needs rewording and it needs, this, and I've missed this out and I've missed that out. Nobody knows that.
Right.
And they're reading what you've given them and they're going, it's great. But because you don't believe it, you're going,
right. And that's why you got to put out a second edition. Fix all those.
Yes.
To fix all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. But it goes back to what you believe about yourself. Yeah.
So let's talk about, communicating your individuality with meaning and not just sounding different. So what's that difference, and why does that distinction actually matter?
Well, there's a few things really, but everybody is unique. We are all individual human beings. Nobody has lived the same life as somebody else, even twins. You know, they brought up the same way, they have different personalities, they have different ways of doing stuff. You know, they are different people. So when it comes to your uniqueness, people often think that there's nothing different about them because they do the same job as somebody else. Or there's nothing interesting about them because, well, you know, they work and sleep and work and sleep and work and sleep and that's it. You know? But what they don't really understand is that to connect with somebody else, you need an element of familiarity, right? So we're both talking on this podcast. We've both written books. We both know Jim Edwards. We both know certain things, right? We have things in common, but we are different people with different life experiences. And even if we were talking to the same group of people about the same topic, we would have different ideas.
Yes.
Right? And I like to use the analogy of making a cup of tea, right? I'm British. We drink a lot of tea. Tim, I know you're not a coffee drinker either, so, you know, you drink tea too. Everybody knows how to make a cup of tea. You need to boil some water, you need a tea bag or some tea leaves, you need to mix the two together, you need to put it in something what you can drink out of, and then you need to make it how you like it. Right? My mom and I make tea completely differently. Right? She has been brought up with china cups, so you put the milk in the cup first so it doesn't crack the cup when you put the water in. You put the tea bag in the teapot, and you leave it to brew for a little while, then you pour it together, and you know, and you make stuff out of that afterwards. For me, I haven't got time for that. You put the tea bag in the cup, you pour the water on the tea bag, you know, it's like, and she hates it that I put the milk in second. But that's, the familiarity is the process of making the cup of tea. The uniqueness is how I do it individually to me. Right?
And so for me, I put a little bit of sugar, a little bit of honey in the cup. Then I put the water and the tea bag in. And that way, when you put the water in, you don't necessarily have to stir it. So you skip a step because putting the water in stirs everything up to begin with, and then put the tea bag in there, and you're good to go. And I don't use milk, but I think that's more of an American thing that we don't use cream or milk in our tea like we do in our coffee.
Yeah. But you see, everybody's got their own way of doing something and their own reasons behind why they do it. And it's not that your way is right and my way is wrong, or the other way around. It's just a different way of doing it. And there's nothing less or more valid, you know, because that's the way you like to do it. And so if we were both teaching the same group of people, I mean, I use this all the time when I was doing the movement-based stuff for the sports injuries. I remember tipping out a box of children's building blocks, you know, wooden building blocks. And they were all different shapes, different sizes, different colors, right? So there were some cylinders and there were some rectangular ones and there were some cubes and there was all sorts of different shapes. And I said to 3 different people, I did this multiple times over, build me a wall. I didn't say how tall the wall needed to be. I didn't say what color it needed to be. I didn't say how straight it needed to be. I just said, build me a wall. And every single time, without fail, I got 3 different versions of a wall because the same information is interpreted differently with each of us because we are individual people. And I think going back to the confidence issue, if you don't like what's unique about you, and you don't own what's unique about you, then it's very difficult for people to understand what's different about you. Then there's no reason for them to buy from you because they don't know the difference.
Exactly. And that's, I think that's a key point and distinction that I hope the listeners get and understand, that what is different, embrace that difference, you know, accept it. Let's talk about a number of different things here. You know, when talk about books, for example, as we were working with Jim Edwards on our latest books, one of the things I noticed about you that to me that really stood out was, you know, your branding, right? Okay. Your branding was everything that you did. I mean, the color scheme, the wording, the everything was. I knew it was coming from Sarah. I mean,
Yes.
it was, which
I
is
do that a
one of
lot.
the things, but that's to me, that's a really good thing. Right. And from a business perspective, that's really definitely what you want, because people you want people to associate whatever it is with you and your brand. Right.
Yeah,
And I
and I think,
remember, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No,
People
go ahead.
have a really, they have real problems trying to distinguish what their brand is. Because as a solo business owner, it is you. And there's no way of getting away from that, but it's your uniqueness and what makes you you, right? So I am a big 5-year-old. I like bright colors and cartoon characters and, all this kind of stuff. And my branding came from that place. It didn't come from some color palette, somebody going, oh yeah, you should have green, or you should have purple, or you should have this, that, and the other color. It was like, okay, what colors do I like?
Mm-hmm.
What design elements do I like? And so then it's really easy. You pick one dark color. You can see the dark green behind me on the wall. You pick one bright color, same shade, different, no, rephrase that. Same color, different shade. Yeah. And the contrast between the two, and you just keep using it over and over and over and over again. And it's not any more complicated than that when it comes to colors. For solo business owners, your brand is not your logo, it's not your color palette or anything else. It is you and who you are as a person. If you can show people your personality through those colors and through that logo and all the rest of it, then yes, they're going to know that it's you. If you like having fun and you like, being quirky and all those kind of things, you're going to pick bright colors. But if you're in a holistic space and you're like maybe a yoga teacher or something like that, and you like calm and you like, serenity and all that kind of stuff, then bright colors might not suit you.
Right.
But it doesn't come from the color, it comes from you.
Exactly. And, my wife is she's a real estate agent here, and, she's just starting to develop her own brand. And we've had this conversation, Sarah, I can't tell you, forever. Right. So she's been working on her colors for 6 months. And I keep telling her, I said, you're making this way more complicated than it needs to be. You're truly making it way more complicated than it needs to be. That's, you think that the color is what's going to attract people. That's not what it is. They're going to be attracted to you. And then eventually they're going to associate that color with you. It's you're the product, you're the service, you're what they're buying. And, I told her, I get what you're trying to do, but what is it that you like? What is it that you truly want to communicate? And I think I finally got her. Because she when I got up this morning, she said, here is what was it? It was a diagram. Let's just call it a diagram. And it looked really nice with good colors. And I said, okay, is that going to be it? Are those the colors? Because you can't, I don't want you to show me a different one tomorrow. She said, no, this is the what it's going to look like next month too. I said, okay, stick to it and let's move forward and not talk about colors anymore. Let's talk about, we'll talk about other things, but it's going back to the point that you said, it has to be you, because that's who they're buying. Right.
And I think when people get distracted and procrastinate and overthink everything, that's a symptom of them not understanding themselves. It's a symptom of them not understanding or being confident enough in their messaging.
Right.
Because the color is the thing that stops the scroll, is the thing that gets the attention. But once you have that attention, if you can't back it up with a solid, clear message, then the colors don't matter, because you're not keeping the attention that you're getting through the colors.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't, if you have a clear message, you can get through to a lot more people, even if your colors keep changing.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. But it's kind of funny when you think about it. at least for me, right? Because I'm really good at helping other people in that, but I'm the absolute worst when it comes to me.
Oh, we all are. Yeah, we all are.
It's insane. Like I tell people, if you want me to negotiate a contract for you, I'd be happy to do that. I mean, it doesn't matter what it's for. It's for a product or service. Or you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house. I'd be happy to go in and negotiate that price for you. But for me, I go in, salesman says, okay, this is the price. Okay. I just say, okay. And okay, if I want it, okay, great. That's what we're doing. Let's roll with it. But and again, that's for whatever reason, we step outside of ourselves, and when it comes to us, and it's look at it and just kind of shake your head sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that's mainly because, or the experience I've had is mainly because people can't see the big picture of their own lives. They can only see the section that they're in. You can't see the big picture of your own business until somebody shows you how to do that, or somebody shows you a different way of looking at what you've been looking at, because you can only see what's right in front of your face because it's important and it needs doing. But when somebody pulls you back a few feet and you can see, like, actually the bit that you've been working on, it's just completely irrelevant, and actually the piece that's next to you is more effective, then it's like, oh, right, I get it now. But you can't help but only focus on the thing that's in front of your face as a person who's living your life,
Yes. So let's talk about that idea in terms of communication, in terms of time management and energy management, and how that emotional energy actually shows up in the way that we communicate, or most of the times fail to communicate.
Yeah, I think when we're doing a project, right, let's say it's, I don't know, creating a course, okay? We get so involved in what we want to say in the course that we kind of skip out all of the other stuff. Like how we're going to communicate what's inside the course, because we're so close to it, we say what it is, not what it does. So we're coming at it from the communication of who we are and what we want to say. But the ideal customer is coming at it from a what's in it for me kind of point of view. Mm-hmm. And if we can't communicate that difference, they also want to know kind of what it is, but they don't really care. As long as it does what they need it to do or it solves their problem, then they don't really care what it is. It could be a book, it could be a video, it could be a podcast, it could be anything.
It could be anything, right?
They don't care. They just want to know, does it solve my problem? What's in it for me? How long will it take? What will I get out of it? And I think when we're so close to the messaging because we're frustrated that nobody's listening, we fail to stand outside ourselves a little bit and go, what do these people need? Mm-hmm. We just go, well, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to teach you. I do a lot of coaching with solo business owners, and a lot of it, the first time I ask them a question about what they do, they spend 20 minutes explaining to me the ins and outs of their process. I don't need to know that. Right. I want to know what the business is about, of course, but I don't need to know exactly what it is that you're going to teach everybody if you're wanting to sell this training and you want my help to write the copy to sell the training. It's like, okay, So people, they are very close to what they do and they need help to stand outside of what they do.
Yes.
Most of the time.
Yeah. I chuckle a lot of times at myself because, especially when I go to my coach or when I bring this to, again, there's 5 people, that inner circle, and they start telling me these things and a light bulb goes off and say, yeah, you know what, you're right. I can't believe that I didn't see it. Right. Because it's a lot of times it's really so plain and simple that it's obvious to everybody else, but it's not obvious to you. And it's funny, not funny, haha, but funny that we get so down in the weeds with it. We get so stuck with what it is that we want, and we forget about the value that we're supposed to be providing for the people.
Yeah, and when we get in our own heads about our own value, then we're not enough. We're never enough.
Yeah.
We're never, going to be enough. And that's when we stop seeing people as collaborators and we start seeing them as competition.
Yeah.
But when we see them as collaborators or potential collaborators, then we start to watch each other's blind spots. So if I'm building a website and I'm better at design than I am about, building the back end, but I know somebody who can really quickly build the back end, but they're terrible at design, then yes,
Right.
we're both website builders. But, if we collaborate, then they can do their part really quick and I can do my part really quick. And the overall result is a lot better than it would have been if we'd have both struggled by ourselves.
Exactly. And now let's take that a little bit further, because with the whole idea of AI, because we want to do things really quickly, and we work closely with AI tools like Jim's copying content genies and wizards, which, by the way, they're amazing, and I would encourage everybody to go to copyingcontent.ai and check it out. But there's your free advertising, Jim. I'll make sure we let him know. But the biggest thing that you talk about, and I agree with you, those should not be replacing your voice. Those are tools. So where do people actually go wrong with AI and the whole idea of communication?
The thing that I've seen most, I'm one of Jim's Genie coaches, so I've been working alongside Jim for a long time now and helping people to use his software. And the thing that I've seen most is that people try and get the AI to tell them what they want to say.
Yes.
And it can't. It can only give you the gist of what you're trying to say, and then you need to personalize it. And if you don't personalize it, then your communication just gets drowned out by the same.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
By everybody else being the same as you, because everybody's AI is spitting out the same information as you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I see people struggling with is when they have a different point of view, they think they can't use the tools to help them explain the difference. When actually, AI is only ever going to give you what conventional wisdom thinks.
Right.
But everybody has a unique perspective. Everybody has an opinion. And when you start to put those things alongside what the AI is giving you, it augments what you're trying to say, because you can go, oh, well, most people think this and use a bit of AI, but I think this, a little bit of your opinion. Here's a reason why. This is an experience I had. This is what I learned from it. And then all of a sudden it becomes you and your piece of content that sounds so different to everybody else. And you're sharing who you are and what you think and how you work, so that people can just be like, oh yeah, I like her, I like him, I like what they have to say. You're proving to them that you've been there and done it because you're giving them stories of examples.
Right.
So then they start to trust that you know what you're talking about. And then it's like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, that's kind of what Jim's whole idea of soul is, and you can't lose that, right? And that's the big piece of it. It's difficult. I work with a lot of young people, and I'm talking 18 to 25 age bracket, right? And trying to get them to understand that with using AI as opposed to just putting a prompt in, asking it a question, telling it what you want, whatever it is, and then them copying that and then inputting it into whatever it is, whether it's a social media message, whether it's an email, whether it's a it doesn't really matter what it is, right? Trying to get them to understand that's not the way to get people to know you or to buy into you, because it's not really you. It's not your message. And they don't quite understand that yet.
No, and I think the difficulty there is that a lot of the time they feel like they don't have enough life experience or enough, they don't know who they are as people. So they don't see how they're unique and how they're 18, 25 years on the planet, which is a quarter of a century. It's a long time. Some people don't have the privilege of getting to that age. So they've learned a lot. They've been through a lot. They've been ups and downs. They've struggled through teenage years. They've struggled with so much stuff. By the time they get to 25, they don't know how to take that out and use it to their own advantage and use it as part of their uniqueness.
Yeah. So how do they do that? Because again, 25 years is a long time. 18 years is a long time. How does confidence, clarity, and self-trust, how does that actually compound over time? And when someone finally gives themselves their permission, to do things their own way, right? Because, especially the younger generations, what they want is they want to be told exactly what to do in a step by step process. So how do they give themselves permission to step outside of that directive that they've given themselves?
Yeah, I like to call it proof hunting, right? It doesn't matter how old you are. You can always find proof or examples in your life of where you have learned something, or you've done something wrong, or you've been taught by somebody else, and, they've helped you fast track the process, or you like what somebody else has been doing, or whatever. You can always think of examples in your life of whatever it is that you want proof for. So let's say, for example, a 18, 25-year-old wants to go into the fitness industry, right? They want to be a personal trainer. Everybody and his brother is a personal trainer right now. There's millions of them around the world. And so there's always going to be somebody who's got more experience than you, right? But if your interest is in fitness, then chances are you've been interested in fitness way before you decided that you wanted to be a personal trainer. So you've had, maybe in the US, you've got a program inside of high schools and stuff like that that's very heavily sport orientated. We don't have that system in the UK, right? So chances are you've been through the school system, you've experienced these team games or whatever it is that you've experienced that you can use as reasons why or examples of good training or bad training or whatever. Maybe you had a coach that was just pretending, or they was filling in for somebody else and they didn't have a clue what they were doing. Right? We've all had those people.
Yes.
You had those in school, you've had them in college, you've had them, in your life. And when you can look back and find that proof, that helps you to change what you believe about yourself. Because you now don't believe I'm not worthy of this, because you have the proof to change your mindset, to change your brain into I'm not good at this, I'm new, everybody else is better than me, into actually I've done this before and I do know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what age you are. It works for everybody. I work with people who are transitioning generally from one career to a new one. Mm-hmm. Maybe they've had a 40-year career in something, and then they're learning something new like leadership, and then they don't know how to mash the two together, and they think they're totally new at the leadership thing, and they keep putting themselves down or hesitating or, withdrawing because they've had 40 years of experience in something else, and now they feel like the new kid in school again. They don't know how to translate the two.
Yeah. And trying to get them to understand that they've got all this experience that they've been through, that they can pull from, the stories, that all those other things. And again, it comes back to the like you said, the things that we're telling ourselves, that we're not good enough when, especially the people that we're leading. they're not thinking those things anyway. They're looking for you to give them the guidance that you have. So stop having that negative negative self-talk, that whatever we want to call it, and what I say is get back to being awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stop doubting yourself and get back to being awesome.
Yeah,
I think that's the real key.
People don't recognize the gold in what they say as a throwaway comment.
Yeah.
Because when you are very experienced at something, or when you have done something for a long time, or you have got the proof, or you have, all of these things, somebody new coming along will listen to you talking and be like, oh, wow. Like I treat sports injuries for a long time. And I passed a lady in the street. She was running and she was holding a leg and she was walking funny. And I was walking my dog. And I just said to her, are you okay? And we started having a conversation. And she was like, oh, I've hurt my knee. I was like, oh, that's what I do. Do you mind if I just show you something? And she was like, yeah. And so in 2 minutes, I showed her an exercise and she did it there and then. And she was like, wow, that really helps. Yeah, no problem. I'm just walking the dog. I'm just out. I just show her this one thing. It's no big deal to me. And because it's no big deal to me, I think it's not worth paying for. Because it took me, 2 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. But how long did it take me to learn all of the stuff that it took me to learn to get to that point where I could just do it for 2 minutes,
Exactly. Right. So let's talk about your book. Your newest book is out. It's Only Common Sense to You. And I remember as we were working together, you struggled on the title of the book. What was happening when you were writing the title? When we were coming up with the title?
It's Only Common Sense to You is the title of the book, or the main title of the book, because it's what I see all the time and it's what I just spoke about. It's common sense to me. Right? But the thing that I have learned about common sense is that nobody else has got any. Because what's common to me is not common to them. And that I find this over and over with solo business owners. They just don't value what they perceive to be common sense. And so that's why that was the main title of the book. And I was struggling to describe what seems ridiculously simple to you is gold dust to other people. And so that's where the problem with the subtitle came from, because I tried to explain it in a way that didn't really translate from British to American, And so we ended up, I can't even remember the title now exactly. Let me just have a look. It's How to Transform What You Think is Stupid Simple into an Intriguing, Unique, and Profitable Solo Business. Yeah. And it was the stupid simple bit that I was struggling to kind of explain. But yeah, you guys helped me with that. Thank you.
And so, talk a little bit about the book, and, if you could tell somebody in 2 sentences why they should get the book and how it's going to help them do that.
I think 1, it will give you so much confidence in who you are and what you know. And 2, it will help you to communicate that to your ideal audience. Mm-hmm. Because when you can't describe it, when you don't know what those things are about you that are different to everybody else, you can't stand out in the crowd. And let's face it, most industries these days are huge. And so the crowd is very big, So yeah, it's really helping you to understand what your common sense is, and why it's unique to you and why it's so valuable to other people, and how you can build a business around that. So,
and that's a perfect example. And I like some of your characters that you've also created with the series of books that you've created. Your Sensei Sarah. There's Kick-Ass Katie.
Yes.
Is it Whack-It Rose or Wreck-It Rose?
Wreck-It Rose. Yeah.
Wreck-It Rose. Yeah. So again, it's to me, it's fun. And that's kind of who you are and what you've created. So where can people, who want to explore what you're doing a little bit deeper, what's the best place for them to start connecting with you?
You can go to sjpbusinessdevelopment.com. That's our website. You can contact me through there. You can find me on Facebook. It's Sarah J. Pitts. Well, there's probably lots of us, but you'll find a picture of me and my doggy. Yeah. So those are good places to start, I would say.
And I'll put those links in the chat for everybody. But Sarah, I really enjoyed the conversations. It's good seeing you again. And thank you so much for spending some time with the Speaking with Confidence community.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to get your free ebook, The Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. You can also register for the Forming for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.